that one child out of every 68 children is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Okay, now, hold on, ready? Why is this not moving? There we go.
Oh, I just say I'll do that.
Okay, there we go. One child out of every 68 has autism spectrum disorder. So imagine what that looks like for us here at this school, when we have about 500 kids. That's about 8 that you know that you're going to come in contact with a child that has autism spectrum disorder. And there are 3 categories under the umbrella of autism spectrum disorder. Individuals and families deal with autism, and they have struggles that the average family wouldn't understand. And we're going to talk more about that as we go on. But a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder is like a life-changing event for any family. Everything just changes, and it's not normal, or their normal becomes something different for everyone else. So, what is it? What is autism spectrum disorder? Autism spectrum disorder has 3 categories under the umbrella. And one is autistic disorder. The other is pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. Basically, they didn't know what else to call it, so there you go. And Asperger's syndrome. Now, because autism is a spectrum disorder, a child can have a classification of autism spectrum disorder, and they can be really low, or they can be really high, or somewhere in between. No 2 children with autism spectrum disorder are the same. They're all different. So if you've seen one, you have not seen them all, because the next one you see is not going to be exactly like the one that you just saw. But pervasive developmental disorder has certain qualifications that they look for. It is really the least studied of all of them, and you'll find that only 20.8% of the cases, well, 20.8 cases out of 1,000 are considered pervasive developmental disorder. And this category includes individuals who are autistic, but they're not, they don't have autistic disorder, and they don't have Asperger's syndrome. So they're somewhere in the middle. And Asperger's syndrome is considered high-functioning autism. Those are the children who, they might have some communication problems, but basically it's social skills, because autism spectrum disorder is communication, social skills, and there's behavioral things that you'll find. And the biggest one is the social skills. And that's what you'll find with the Asperger's syndrome, where everything else, academics and everything else might be okay, but their social skills are lacking. And a child with autism spectrum disorder, you have to teach social skills, just specifically focus on social skills, and not one time, but you have to teach it over and over and over again, that same skill in many different ways and in life situations so that they can get it. But not just one time, you have to do it over and over and over again in order for them to be able to use it on their own. Now, what are the possible causes of autism spectrum disorder? It's not known. That's one theory, is, we really don't know where it comes from. And some people say that it's genetic. They'll look at the families and say, oh, daddy had it or grandpa had it, and therefore that gene has passed down. Some people say that it is physical, that something happened to the child and therefore they became autistic. Like some people blame it on vaccinations and stuff. And some people say that it's a chemical imbalance in the child, and that's why this person has Asperger's syndrome. And some people say that it's a combination of all of these, or any 2 of these, that cause it. But no one really knows why someone has autism spectrum disorder. They don't know. They're still studying. And what are the symptoms? There are many. Language deficits, restricted range of interest, because a child with autism spectrum disorder, they like certain things and that's it. They focus on those same things over and over again. That's what they want. They avoid eye contact. They want to be alone. They have trouble understanding feelings, their own feelings and others' feelings. Someone might be crying and they might think that it's funny because they really don't understand what's really going on. Social things, they just don't get it. They don't want to be cuddled, they don't want to be held, and they appear to be unaware of when others are talking to them. And now you got to remember though, the child might have all of these, or they might have a few of these, because each child is different. They echo the words and phrases that other people speak. I know you've heard that before. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. I know you've seen it. More symptoms. They have trouble expressing their needs using typical words or behaviors. You might get it out of them, but it might not be the way another child would do it, or the average child would do it. They laugh or cry or show distress for no reason. I've had children who would just laugh for no reason, and they would get in trouble for laughing. And it was just something about them that they would laugh. They weren't laughing at anybody, but it would get on the teacher's nerves, that they would just bust out laughing for no reason. They repeat actions over and over and over again, the same thing over and over and over again. They have trouble adapting when there's a change of routine. They like things to be structured. This happens at this time. We eat lunch at 12. We go outside at 12:30. Please don't change it. And you know, we always have that field day, picture day, or something happens and things don't work out the way they're supposed to. But that's what they do. That's what they're used to, and they want that structure. They need that structure. They have unusual reactions to the way things taste, smell, look, feel, or sound. They're oversensitive or undersensitive about things, and you teach them something, and they might lose those skills the next day. So, what is the impact on the family? The parents feel very stressed. They don't have a typical life like everyone else, and they feel stressed about it. They call it a permanent case of crisis, state of crisis. And they're stressed. They're depressed at times because no one understands. It's hard to find someone to watch that child. They have no free time. And they're more likely to be single parents because of the stress that goes on. Marriages sometimes don't last. Some of them do, and they have more support that way, but some of them really don't. And they can't take them to other family functions because the other family members don't understand what's really going on with that child, especially those on the low end of the autism spectrum. All right. Feeding time is really fun because they like to eat the same foods over and over again. And if people don't like to cook the same thing, different meals, the whole family is stuck with a limited range of foods and experiences that they can have. They can't take them out to eat because of how they behave, and they always want to eat the same thing because of the textures and the feelings of the food. They only like certain things. So, with all that we know about Asperger's, autism spectrum disorder, we know about the pervasive developmental disorder. They have the impaired social skills, communication, restrictive repetitive motions, autistic disorder, impaired social skills, impaired communication, restrictive repetitive motion. Asperger's syndrome is the high end, it's called high functioning autism. With all of this that we know that it impacts the family, we know that it impacts the social skills and the things that the family and the child can do. With all that we know, there is still more that we need to know because we don't know enough. Thank you all for coming.